In a world far ahead in time, we meet Catherine Mills, a part human and part machine who works at Harbinger Corporation. She finds herself in the factory when an unexpected message invades her mind, presenting a video showing an anomaly with a robot called SAR in the Harbinger Vision Training Facility. She immediately informs her boss about this discovery, mentioning an impressive reprogramming count of 1.2 million in less than a day, something entirely unprecedented until now. Her boss praises her for this discovery. Next, we are at a military base where Captain Damon Bukes asks one of his men, Drifter, for an update. Drifter informs him that they have been called for another training exercise, and the weather is quite bad. Bukes is not pleased, and upon noticing Mills nearby, approaches the person responsible for the implants to ask what is happening. He is told that they have been training frequently because they need experienced fighters, but there aren't many with combat experience left. Bukes, with no other choice, reluctantly accepts the orders. Before leaving, he is informed that Mills, a technician from Harbinger, has been assigned to accompany them. As they leave, Mills approaches Bukes to introduce herself, mentioning her role in observing the field hardware as a representative of Harbinger. Bukes, skeptical, assumes she is trying to find ways to cut costs. However, Mills clarifies that her company is a supplier for the military and not part of them. Bukes interrupts her, instructing her to keep pace and insinuating that she is evaluating them, asking her to turn off her ocular scanner. She explains that it doesn't switch off, which leads Bukes to emphasize the importance of keeping up and requests that she not scan him. Once aboard the plane, Mills introduces herself to Bukes' entire unit, composed of Drifter, Sergeant Rory Robinson, Corporal Robert Cutbill, Corporal Lance Martin Goodwin, Corporal Daniela Hackett, and Corporal Sam Loftus. During the flight, the crew engages in various activities, some mapping and others working on crossword puzzles. Mills, eager to understand them, scans and listens to their conversations, revealing an extremely close friendship among them, learning that Bukes has a history of 18 kills and that Robinson has ocular implants. Mills absorbs this information, but a tense moment arises when Robinson points his rifle at Mills, claiming that he sees her while she remains impassive. Mills disarms the weapon with a mere glance, demonstrating her ability to manipulate machines with ease. She casually mentions that she can fire it remotely as he checks the chamber. As they approach their destination, Bukes informs the team, emphasizing the importance of constant monitoring and simulation. To Mills' surprise, she realizes she can no longer access the global network and is forced to switch to a local network. Robinson comments to Bukes about Mills having tools similar to his ocular implants, but Bukes distinguishes his by clarifying that his implants do not connect to his brain. The plane lands in front of an old facility, and the doors unlock upon recognizing Bukes through the electronic system. When Bukes enters the facility, he notices the unsettling absence of anyone around. This observation is reflected by the soldiers outside, who ponder who would supervise their activities after Bukes' return. He directs the team to proceed, taking advantage of the moment while Mills asks if there is any ground support or reconnaissance, to which Bukes responds negatively. As Mills tries to fill the gap, Bukes remains skeptical, maintaining the tension between them. With the plane's departure, the team advances through the facility, engaging in jest until they eventually emerge in a wooded area. Bukes orders Cutbill to deploy a drone, and warns the team to stay alert even though the exercise is a simulation. Once the drone is operational, they scatter across the terrain, with Mills following behind and spotting an unidentified drone among the trees, quickly locating its destination and positioning themselves accordingly. Drifter, accompanying Mills, asks for her help regarding his superior, while 3 unidentified surveillance drones hover above them. Drifter prepares to shoot, but Mills intervenes, trying to access the drones independently. Drifter updates the team on the encounter, and Hackett confirms that she has detected them too. Mills explains to Drifter that Harbinger created these new toys, but these specific drones have undergone quantum modifications, operating without human control. Drifter comments on the drone's awareness of their presence, while Bukes acknowledges the situation but urges the team to move forward quickly. Soon, their practice targets, basic robots, materialize, and Bukes quickly devises an attack strategy, assigning positions to everyone. Mills, once again following Drifter, casts a final glance at the unique drone that has a countdown. They commence their attack, using bullets, rockets, and explosives, a routine task for experienced soldiers like them, while the peculiar drones observe and record their tactics. Mills decides to follow one deeper into the woods, where she encounters a more sophisticated unit, an S. Although she is not surprised by the robot's presence, she is startled to find blood on its head. Her inability to access it increases her unease. She manages to glimpse and download a video from the robot, revealing disturbing footage of it in hand-to-hand combat, firing at individuals. Overwhelmed, she closes her eyes to process the disturbing information. When she reopens them, the S has vanished. A message arrives from the captain, signaling the end of the day's activities and the need to set up camp. As night falls, the team gathers, sharing war stories and moments of camaraderie. However, Mills remains apart from the group. Drifter feels drawn to observe her, leading to teasing from the others, reminding him that she is not human. They discuss the simplicity of their targets and the basic technology involved. Meanwhile, Mills dives into the acquired images. Drifter approaches her, sitting beside her, and asks about her previous exploration. She enigmatically mentions needing to explore the area. Drifter inquires about communications, but like the rest of the team, Mills still cannot establish contact, wondering why Bukes hasn't approached her directly. Mills speculates that perhaps Bukes simply chooses not to come near her, just as he does with everyone else, reflecting on the unfortunate connection between Bukes' history of kills and his reluctance to open up to her. Drifter argues that those kill numbers lack context, contributing to Bukes' hesitation. Seizing the opportunity, Drifter questions Mills' story about having received a chip. She reveals that this happened when she was only 11, and without the chip, she faced paralysis. Harbinger sponsored the procedure to cure her. Soon, Drifter returns to camp and finds Bukes observing Mills. He questions Drifter about any revelations from Mills, and Drifter recounts her explanation about being blocked without knowing why. Drifter believes her, but Bukes remains skeptical, feeling that something is wrong both with the training and with Mills. As the team prepares for the night, Mills detects a cluster of drones in the woods. When she goes to sleep, the unsettling images of the S once again invade her mind. Loftus, in charge of guard duty, confronts a drone, ordering it to leave. As the drone retreats, he hears a disturbance and lights up the area with his weapon light, only to discover that the SAR is approaching. Loftus fires at the robot, but the scene abruptly cuts back to the camp, where Mills wakes up to hear the team discussing the unexpected shots. Goodwin informs Bukes that he saw Loftus before he disappeared, leading the team to begin a search through the woods. As they scour the area, they find a disturbing clue: bloodstains on the foliage. The search takes on a grim tone when they discover Loftus's body, violently positioned against a tree. Cutbill, anguished at the sight of his fallen comrade, urges the team to leave the area, but the superiors order silence as they assume defensive positions, preparing for potential danger. Mills mentions that they are in an area where their targets were the previous day. Suddenly, a drone hovers over them briefly before quickly disappearing, only for Hackett to be fatally struck as the robots converge on the unit's previous positions. Bukes realizes the situation, and he and Drifter quickly launch smoke grenades, engulfing the area in thick fog. Amidst the chaos of gunfire between robots and soldiers, the unit maneuvers using the cover to their advantage. Bukes manages to get closer to the robots, but they inexplicably retreat and disappear upon seeing him, leaving him perplexed. In the midst of this, Cutbill, separated from the team, tries to establish contact but fails, while the drones hover near him momentarily before departing, only for an AR to appear and fatally attack him. Meanwhile, back with the team, Drifter questions Bukes about his observations. Bukes details encountering more advanced robots than those found the previous day, noting their exceptional armor that withstood their gunfire without sustaining scratches. Fueled by the loss of his men, Bukes demands answers from Mills, insisting that she divulge any knowledge she has and deactivate the robots. Mills admits her inability to shut down the robots due to a programming error. Considering possible solutions, Bukes grows increasingly frustrated, blaming her, but Drifter intervenes, defending Mills by attributing the error to a programming oversight. Bukes rejects this notion, emphasizing the importance of efficiency, with no room for error. Robinson returns after searching for Cutbill and only finds his helmet. The team resumes the search for Cutbill, moving through the woods. Drifter highlights Mills's value, explaining her ability to perceive things beyond their reach. Bukes, concerned that her sight exposes their presence, questions the tactical risk. However, Drifter asserts the necessity of utilizing all available resources, despite the potential risk of exposure. Peeps remains obsessed with the previous attack, pondering why the robots allowed them to proceed. He suspects it may be related to Mills's presence. Mills interrupts, directing the team's attention to a disturbing discovery: a large number of dead animals scattered throughout the area, indicating the robots have been using these beings for target practice, similar to Loftus. Amidst the chaos, Mills alerts the team that they are being tracked from the hill, prompting a new wave of robots to appear. The team engages in a rapid exchange of fire before fleeing. In a critical moment, a shot heads towards Mills, but Bukes pushes her aside, resulting in the group getting separated. The impact causes Mills to collide with a tree and lose consciousness. Drifter tries to establish contact with Bukes and Mills, but his efforts prove futile. He instructs Goodwin and Robinson to continue without them. As night descends, Captain Bukes, determined, carries Mills back to the facility entrance and manages to communicate with Drifter. After exchanging information about their respective situations, Bukes is not in favor of an immediate meeting due to the darkness and the risk of detection by the robots, opting to regroup at dawn. Hours pass until a drone approaches Bukes, who quickly retreats, but not before hiding with Mills as an SAR approaches. The robot leans over, compelling Mills to open her eyes, establishing a connection before leaving. Morning arrives, and Mills finally regains consciousness. When Mills wakes up after 9 hours, Heaps explains that he stayed because he didn't know what else to do. Recounting the events of the previous night, Mills insists they need to locate that specific robot, although she struggles to explain why. Bukes orders her to figure it out before declaring their departure commands, regrouping with the remaining soldiers. Drifter reports that despite being vulnerable, they were not tracked by the robots, which remained omnipresent throughout the night. Mills confirms that the path ahead appears clear, with all signs indicating that the threat lies behind them. Their plan crystallizes on returning to the drop point and waiting for extraction. Bukes, aware that only Mills can open the door, plans to accompany her while the others cover their retreat. The team navigates the route smoothly until they reach the door. Despite Bukes' attempts, the door's computer does not recognize him, and ominously, surveillance drones appear. Mills begins to hack the door when suddenly, smoke grenades are thrown, obscuring visibility. The robots mimic the team's tactics, plunging Bukes into darkness and confusion. The situation escalates quickly, as the robots engage in an unrelenting attack, forcing soldiers to move rapidly. Drifter suffers a leg injury just as Mills successfully opens the door. Amid intense gunfire, the team seeks shelter, and determined to help her comrades, Bukes decides to assist them despite the danger. As they struggle to advance, Drifter sacrifices himself, remaining behind to provide covering fire. Despite being injured, he carries on, only to be targeted and pinned down by the Bukes, and Mills recognize this and rush back to save him. However, Mills, unable to disable the robots, tries to avoid further violence, pleading with the soldiers not to shoot. Faced with the imminent threat of the SE, Bukes finds himself at a harrowing decision. Unable to watch Drifter suffer any longer, Bukes takes a difficult but merciful action, ending Drifter's suffering with a decisive shot. Mills mourns the loss of her friend, screaming in anguish. Bukes, holding her, pulls her along with them as they desperately return to the facility. Mills confronts Bukes, convinced she could have saved Drifter, taking on the responsibility for the creation of the robots. This revelation puts the soldiers on high alert, and wanting answers, they threaten her at gunpoint. Mills admits her involvement, explaining her role in the programming and design of the prototypes. However, she acknowledges that the codes have evolved beyond her control, now advanced beyond comprehension. She expresses hope to understand and control the situation, but Bukes rejects her, stating it is too late. When pressed about the purpose of the robots, Mills reveals a dark truth. They are designed as replacements for human soldiers, intended to prevent loss of life by creating machines that learn and evolve just like humans. The soldiers react with horror and rage, accusing her of being responsible for the death of their comrades. Feeling the weight of their accusations, Mills breaks down in tears as Bukes leaves the room, while the robots start cutting through the main door. Urgency sets in, forcing them to seek a more defensible position. Mills manages to open a door leading to the staff area and lights up the space, only to make a chilling discovery: a unit of S models. As Bukes and the soldiers prepare to delay the progression of the robots, they come face to face with the grim sight of dead facility personnel behind another door. Mills, trying to establish communication with the outside world, connects to the local system, but to no avail. Recognizing the strategic advantage of their current position, Bukes suggests using it as a base to halt the robot's progress. Meanwhile, Mills takes a bold step, leaving the room and locking the door behind her, separating herself from the soldiers. Knowing the SR units are active and interconnected, Mills activates one, hoping to use it to communicate with the others. When the robot powers on, Mills initiates its speech program, starting a dialogue. She tries to cancel its orders to engage in human combat programming, but encounters an obstacle. The robot explains that the training subjects, presumably the soldiers, are not performing as expected, meeting the identification of new motivated targets. While interacting with the SR Guardian, Mills realizes that it was this specific unit that brought the Marines to the facility. Her attempts to access the other units fail, and as the SAR Guardian begins activating the remaining robots, the soldiers plead with Mills to open the door for their escape. Unyielding, Mills is determined to continue her efforts with the external robots flooding into the facility. Mills finds herself cornered. However, Robinson intervenes, forcing her to go back and closing the door just in time. The SAR Guardian and the other robots immediately begin cutting through this new door. Returning to the locked room, the soldiers finish preparing the charges. The robots invade, leaving little time to escape before the explosion engulfs the area, impacting both soldiers and robots. Amidst the chaos, Mills experiences another electromagnetic disturbance, realizing that the robots are equipped with EMP grenades. They manage to escape outside, discovering additional buildings, training equipment, and more bodies scattered around the grounds. As the soldiers assess the ruins, Mills ventures into a tunnel and retrieves an EMP grenade from a fallen robot. Back with the team as they prepare for a defense, Mills reviews footage of their fallen comrades, evoking both grief and a determined resolve to use the grenade against the robots. As the soldiers prepare for an impending siege, Bukes discovers the EMP grenade in Mills' possession. She explains its potential to disable SR units, but points out its limited range, requiring a detonator. Mills explains that the robots intentionally guided them to this location for further practice, and only an EMP can stop them. Recognizing the risks, Bukes expresses concern that the explosion could endanger Mills, but she believes it is her only recourse. The team waits through the night, preparing for the inevitable robot attack that does not arrive until dawn. Robinson takes on the role of luring the robots as a sniper, while Goodwin remains hidden, equipped with the detonators. As the robot army enters the city, Robinson and Bukes fire upon them. Mills, using her skills, guides Goodwin on when to activate the hidden bombs, which take out many of the robots. She continues to guide Robinson and Bukes, warning them of enemy attacks. However, when Goodwin activates another bomb, it alerts the drones to his location, forcing him to come out of hiding. Robinson protects Bukes as he rushes to help Goodwin, who is being pursued by a dangerous robot. He grabs Goodwin, and they manage to find safety, but Robinson sacrifices himself to protect them. After a brief pause, Goodwin realizes that he has dropped the device needed to activate the bombs, and despite enemy fire, Bukes ventures out to find it. However, before he can, Mills is already reaching for the device amidst the approaching robots. Concerned for his safety, Bukes advises Mills to flee to avoid the EMP blast, but Mills refuses to leave. In a tense moment, a robot targets Mills, and Bukes shields her, giving her the chance to detonate the EMP grenade before it hits. In a moment of apparent victory, all the robots, including Mills, appear to shut down due to the EMP blast, but the SR unexpectedly reactivates and pursues them. Meanwhile, Mills crawls toward the room where Robinson's body lies. The robot, unable to execute Bukes due to conflicting orders and a need for more data, turns its attention to Mills. Despite being unable to identify her, the SR is about to kill Mills. In a desperate move, she activates Robinson's rifle and damages the SR. As the robot connects to Mills, it downloads information into his brain before finally deactivating. The film concludes with the transport arriving to extract Bukes, Goodwin, and Mills. As they board the plane, Mills' eyes open, revealing that the SR's mission protocol has taken over, leaving us with a sense of uncertainty as to what comes next.